The Heritage Foundation is one of the leading conservative think tanks in the country in coming up with conservative ideas and explaining why they are better and why they work. That's a 501c3. So they also then formed Heritage Action to try to get out and implement those ideas through the political system. And Nathan Duell here is our regional representative for Heritage Action. I did see when he came in, they carded him to make sure that he was of proper age when he came in. But he passed. So no further ado, Nathan Duell, Heritage Action, how can we work together to implement these ideas and save our country? Nathan.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for having me. My name is Nathan Duell and I'm with Heritage Action. So in this job, I work with grassroots organizations all across the Southwest to make sure that they're aware of what's going on in Congress and know how to take action. So first off, by a show of hands, who here is familiar with the Heritage Foundation? A lot of you. How about Heritage Action? Who's familiar? Fewer. So I'll explain what we're about and then go into some things that's going on in Congress and then how you can take action. So first off, Heritage Foundation, they're a think tank founded in 1970s. So they are a conservative group located in Washington, D.C., and we believe that economic liberty, social liberty, and defense, all of it is essential for preserving America and the three legs of the stool, as Reagan liked to put it. All that is important, so we're a full spectrum think tank that works on those policies. It was during the Reagan administration that the Heritage Foundation rose to prominence, and then most recently with President Trump, us along with the Federalist Society gave President Trump the Supreme Court Justice list, and he has already chosen 2 Supreme Court justices from that list. So we work very closely with the administration. On the action side where I work, we found in 2010 that we needed more leverage. Since the foundation works on policy and they're a 501c3, meaning they can only educate on the issues, we needed a lobbying arm. So that's where Heritage Action comes in. We are the grassroots who take stances on bills, work with Congress to influence what they do. With our DC office and our grassroots out in the field, we work in tandem to make sure that DC and our representatives hear the same unified message, both in the district and back in DC. And since we're a lobbying organization, we have a few lobbyists on staff. We call them the anti-lobbyist lobbyists. When you think of a lobbyist, you think that they're in DC going for interest groups, carve-outs, different things like that that don't benefit the American people. A lot of times it's true, but our lobbyists are there every day lobbying for the Constitution, and I make sure that they hear directly from the grassroots and what's going on back in the districts. So the main way you can get involved with Heritage Action is through our Sentinel program. This is our grassroots activism program where we get you the information from DC. We go over it in a weekly call on Mondays and then also talk about it throughout the week over email. We come directly to you from DC talking about what's going on in Congress. What are Democrats saying? What is Republican leadership saying? And what's the conservative message? Oftentimes what Democrats and Republican leadership are saying are the same thing. That's why it's imperative that people who are constitutionalists on the Hill are getting you the information directly. So the Sentinel program, no cost to join. The way to sign up is there's half sheets on each table. Just fill it out with your information and that will get you plugged in to get the action alerts over email in the Monday call. The Monday call is also available on Facebook. It's part of a secret group that we have. So once you become a Sentinel, if you're on Facebook, you'll get access to that group and you can watch it anytime you would like, talking about the issues in DC. Another thing to help you take action is on our site, heritageaction.com. We have toolkits based on different topics. So we go over some of the biggest topics going on in DC, give you the talking points, the research from the Heritage Foundation, the number to call your representative, the message, and make it as easy for you as possible. The Sentinel program and Heritage Action, the way we operate is working directly with awesome conservative groups like this. So we want to make sure that you're involved at all levels levels in politics. You're involved in your community at the most local level, but also on the federal level. And the federal level is where we understand the issues and have leverage, so that's why we like to focus specifically on the federal issues with great groups like this. And another thing we do is summits across the country throughout the year. So we've done 2 already. This brings together activists from all across the country who are part of our Sentinel program. We did one in Scottsdale, which was the closest one to here, and we also did one in Cincinnati already. Later this year, we're going to Austin, Texas, and Atlanta, Georgia. If you're interested in that, sign up to be a Sentinel, and we'll get you more info. Now on to the good stuff, talking about policy and a couple items going on in Washington, D.C. Who's been following the Born Alive stuff going on across the country? Many of you have. So basically, what is happening? So the left, they're afraid that Roe v. Wade is going to get overturned. Because of this, they're deciding to pass the most radical abortion bills that they can think of. In their state legislatures, they're attempting to make abortion on demand up until the point of birth. When this happens, like in places like New York, they passed the bill, New Mexico, Virginia, they've attempted to, it creates a more likely scenario where a born alive child will come out. This is an abortion that they attempt, however the medical practitioner fails in aborting, so a living human being is out on the operating table. And those babies do not have the legal rights of any other newborn at this moment in time across the country. Some states offer these protections, but in many states across the country, like California, there are no protections in place. So the doctor is allowed to neglect the baby, and the baby can pass, and there's no legal ramifications. So this right here talks about some of the shortcomings in the law. In 2002, there was a bill passed saying that these born-alive babies are indeed humans. However, there's a loophole because it does not clarify that those babies are entitled to the same medical rights as any other newborn baby, and that's how we're seeing the loophole come into play. It's documented, there are real cases. Susan B. Anthony List does a great job detailing it, and it's a real scenario, it's a real situation. The left wants us to believe that it's something made up so that they can back killing more babies. 5 things that the bill that we're pushing, the Born Alive bill at the federal level, would do. It would make medical practitioners exercise the same degree of care that they would toward any other newborn. It would require that the baby is transported to a hospital. Also, they would have to report the violations when they happen, so they couldn't just sweep it under the rug. Right now, there's no incentive for a doctor to report that. The criminal penalties would be in place for the medical practitioners. However, the mother of the child would not face any criminal penalties. So it's a pretty non-controversial bill. Most people in America would think that this is common sense. Why would we not pass it? Well, currently, the Senate, they voted on it, and it failed, unfortunately. We needed 60 votes in the Senate to pass it. Only 56 senators voted the right way. There were 3 Democrats who crossed the aisle to vote with it, and we're seeing the same thing happen in the House. House is controlled by Nancy Pelosi, as you all know, so she has refused 75 times to have this bill be voted on. The Republicans are using something called the discharge petition as a way to try and bypass Speaker Pelosi, but they need more signatures, and only 3 reps have crossed the aisle from the Democrat side to be on the right side of this issue. And just to show that it's not controversial, some of the polling that we've done through an excellent pollster who is one of the people that predicted Trump's victory, so it's a good conservative guy. He has helped us poll, and we've seen that 77% of voters would support a bill like this, and even 62% of voters, they believe that late-term abortion is wrong. So not only are the Democrats wrong on this issue, the majority of Americans believe that late-term abortion is wrong. And we as conservatives know that life begins at conception. Life should be protected from the very moment that the baby is formed in the mother's womb. This fight found us, though, because the left is pushing it. So this is just the tip of the iceberg, and it shows how polarized the left is on this issue. So next steps for activism, there are some things we could do and should do. One thing that we did, so I'm located in Arizona, but since I cover the Southwest, I went to San Diego, and we met with Congressman Scott Peters with some Sentinels and other activists. We had a sign wave outside his office. One American News, they're an awesome organization. They came out and covered the sine wave, and then they covered the reaction of Congressman Scott Peters after we met with him. And although he did not come to the right side of the issue, we got him on record saying that this doesn't happen with babies, and he refuses to support the bill. So with that information online, we can go back to the district and tell them, this is what your congressman is saying. We have him on record on TV saying this, and we have the clip. That's something that's good to do with your own representative. Get a few constituents together, go visit them or the district office staff, and let them know the message. You can also do town halls. That's a great way because it's public. So if your congressman holds a town hall, bring this issue up and see how they answer it. Try to get a firm stance, whether it's on the right side or wrong side. And then letters to the editor, although people don't read print as often, it's very good for social media. You can push it on social media, tag your congressman, and make it where it's more public. And I'll go over one more issue today. Has everyone followed the thing going on with the bipartisan budget? Some of you have. So I know with the Mueller investigations, this kind of got swept under the rug. People didn't pay as much attention, but it's horrible what Congress is doing with spending. So Nancy Pelosi, she negotiated with Secretary Mnuchin, and they came up with a terrible deal. They're encouraging Trump to support it. It looks like he will, and it's just unfortunate because there are good people in the administration too, but the bad ones have gone to President Trump on this one. So we need to be encouraging him, the administration, and everyone across the country to care about spending again. So what the deal did, it tied the debt limit with the spending caps. The debt limit is the total amount of money that can be, that the federal government is authorized to borrow to meet all the funding, all the things they have to spend on. And then spending caps, they apply to discretionary spending. So there's two caps, the non-defense and the defense. It's not good policy to separate these two because it makes it where both sides, conservatives and the left, they can negotiate to get spending higher on each side. And that's one of the reasons that contributes to our mess now. So yeah, the deal, no spending reforms happened in it. It gave the left a lot of what they wanted. And this deal is going to pave the way for the fall, another bad spending deal. So this is a budget, it authorizes the spending, and then the spending will be passed in the fall. Here's a chart that shows how bad the budget deal is. On the left, we see four smaller gray bars. That's under President Obama. The orange and the red, that's spending under Trump. So spending has not gotten any better under President Trump. He's doing so many great things. This is an issue that we just need to bring it up as Americans and have people in Congress care about it because Congress is doing nothing. Therefore, Trump isn't really able to address it in any way. How bad is it? Here's 6 key points about it. It suspends the debt ceiling for 2 years without any offsets or reforms. So basically, the government can borrow to meet whatever obligations it has, and there's nothing holding it. There used to be a cap in 2011. That cap is gone now. It's worse than the 2018 budget deal. President Trump promised that he wouldn't do this again. He had no choice. Congress did not give him anything he could work with. It adds $1.7 trillion to the national debt over 10 years, so continuing to drive up the deficit and debt. It increases non-defense spending by 4.5%, and defense is only 3.1%. They used to try to have it be an even increase, but this is a giveaway to the left. We don't even get the defense spending that we need, and they get so much more in their non-defense discretionary spending. $738 billion is what President Trump requested, or sorry, 750 is what he requested. This only gives them 738. And then to show it's not bipartisan, the House, only 93% of the Democrats voted for it. Only 33% of the Republicans did. And that's in the House, and they've been really bad on spending. Today, the Senate unfortunately passed it. So President Trump will likely sign it into law. And until we as conservatives start championing this issue again to cut spending, it's going to be really hard for Congress to address it because they have no reason if people back in the district don't care, and there's a lot of apathy among Americans in spending. There are reforms, especially on the mandatory side. Heritage Foundation outlines it in their blueprint for balance. We have $338 billion that could easily be saved, and you can find that online, Blueprint for Balance by the Heritage Foundation. That's all I have for you. Thanks again for letting me speak. And if you want to get involved with our Sentinel program, get to know the issues and take action, fill out the half sheet that I brought. It's the no cost to join program.